So it's been 2.5 years since the massive construction site arrived at the heart of EPCOT and then sat pretty much dormant. However, the end is now within sight, as we now have the updated plans and actual construction progress taking place on this project. So let's do a deep dive into all of that up next. This video is sponsored by Topps Disney Collect, which brings collectible card trading into the world of Disney on your iOS and Android devices. And now it's easier than ever to collect and trade an incredibly wide variety of cards. As to help you get started, there is a wish feature where you can spin and win a few extra cards every day, which you can then use to strategically trade your way to the collection that you desire, such as these beautifully illustrated collections that feature Moana's oceanic art and the illustrated adventures of Moana. And if you add me at Jack at DSNY, perhaps some of these unique Disney and Pixar cards might just be one trade away as well. So be sure to download the free app for iOS and Android today with the link below in the description box.
Hi there Waltineers, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast. And finally we can discuss all of the details of what's happening with the EPCOT Central revamp. But first of all, let's discuss how we got to this stage to begin with.
As at D23 Expo in August of 2019, it was announced that EPCOT would undergo a multi-year transformation that would see Future World divided up into 3 separate neighbourhoods, titled World Discovery, World Nature, and World Celebration. And it all seemed fairly straightforward at the time, as basically Future World East with Test Track, Mission Space, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind would be rebranded to become World Discovery, the Land and Seas Pavilions would form the new World Nature neighbourhood along with the yet-to-be constructed experience known as Journey of Water inspired by Moana, which then meant that everything left over within Future World would fall under the new categorization of the World Celebration neighborhood, which also included Journey into Imagination with Figment. And the original plans for World Celebration were certainly interesting, as an ambitious new multi-story festival building was to be constructed that would make a bold architectural statement within the already iconic landscape of EPCOT. And this new building would have featured a recessed ground floor under a unique tripod-styled structural design, with large wraparound glass-enclosed oval-shaped floors, and then a treetop garden on the roof as a nighttime spectacular viewing area. And although I did have my concerns over how this would affect the sightlines of Spaceship Earth from World Showcase and the overall practicality of the design of this building as a festival centre, I have to admit that it certainly did look futuristic. And so when Disney began tearing down Innoventions West in December of 2019, it all seemed fine. But then a few short months later, with the southwest quadrant already completely demolished, it all started to go awry with the 4-month-long pandemic shutdown of Walt Disney World, as there was a construction pause and there was no activity whatsoever on the World Celebration area. And then when EPCOT did eventually reopen on July 15th, 2020, guests noticed that the Festival Centre model had been removed from the EPCOT Experience Preview Centre. However, then later that day, a Disney spokesperson released a statement saying that they were taking a different approach to the Festival Centre. And later that year, in November, it turned out that that different approach they were talking about was that it had been downgraded to a festival area instead, as Imagineering were mulling over their options. And that is all that we formally knew about this project for 18 months, as the ugly construction mess sat dormant in the heart of EPCOT. But then a few short weeks ago on May 5th, Disney finally revealed their updated plans for World Celebration. And as you can see here, they are very similar, but with one notable exception being that the oval-shaped tripod festival building has now been replaced with what looks eerily similar to that of the Innoventions West quadrant that had been demolished in early 2020. And so in a way, Disney's only demolished that building to now rebuild a more modernised version of the former Innoventions West quadrant. But the similarities also keep on coming, as this will also be formally known as the Communicore Hall building, and the outside area will be known as Communicore Plaza, which is obviously paying tribute to the original name of the Innoventions buildings, as it was known as Communicore before it was then rebranded to Innoventions in the 1990s. Now at this point, I have to question some of the decision making going on here, as for most of 2020, the northwest quadrant of Innoventions remained intact. despite it being the location of where Journey of Water was to be constructed. And so if the plan was to build a festival centre that was going to be very similar to the Innovention's core structure, then I do wonder why Disney didn't just move Journey of Water to the then demolished site and repurpose the existing Innoventions building like they did so brilliantly with Connections Cafe and Eatery and the Creations Shop on the other side. And I know the argument is that Journey of Water needs to be near the Seas Pavilion to be included within the World Nature neighbourhood, but I would say that it doesn't make that much difference, as World Celebration is going to have many different garden areas and green spaces, so much so that I think that in many guests' minds it will end up blending with World Nature to a point where there won't be much of a distinguishable difference between the two neighbourhoods. Therefore, Disney could have just called one side World Discovery and the other side World Celebration, as it would have been celebrating nature, togetherness and imagination. But alas, that didn't happen, so let's get back on topic. As first of all, Dreamers Point is still included within these updated plans, as this is going to feature a new Walt Disney statue as the original dreamer of Epcot, and this will be an elevated area around 8 feet higher than the rest of World Celebration, located at the back of the Project Tomorrow exit show building for Spaceship Earth. And speaking of which, it now appears that the new exit show building that featured this open glass design is no longer included as part of the World Celebration transformation. Then as we descend down into the hub area, there will be a large planter designed after the 5-ring Epcot logo, with various gardens surrounding it that will have plenty of shaded seating for relaxation. Then throughout the ground of World Celebration, LEDs will be embedded to illuminate the whole area and connect it to the points of light on Spaceship Earth, creating a holistic, colourful lighting package. However, it must be noted that originally it was intended for this whole entire area to have featured story fountains and illuminated wishing trees, which have not been mentioned by Disney as making the cut so far within the updated plans. So in terms of those features, we don't have a definitive answer. But then we come to the Communicore Hall aspect of this whole thing, which will be the new heart of all Epcot festivals throughout the year, as this will replace what the Wonders of Life Pavilion was used for in terms of the festivals before it began its transformation into the Play Pavilion. And within this building, it's going to house a new Mickey and Friends meet and greet location and also a double-sided stage setup, with a smaller stage facing out into the gardens towards Connections Cafe and Creations Shop, and then there'll be a much larger stage accompanied by the Communicore Plaza, which will be a large viewing area for music concerts, art performances and kitchen demonstrations, all part of the festivals throughout the year.
And so those are the plans for the Epcot Central revamp, but now let's turn to the construction. As you can see just off over there in the distance, work has finally commenced on the World Celebration area.
Which it may not look like it, but this is a big deal, as at the moment we can see that the land is beginning to be prepped while the rest of the area is being suitably graded for the change in elevation that is expected within World Celebration. And although there's plenty of activity, the top priority before constructing the new Communicore Hall Festival building will be most likely to secure and enclose this utilidor access stairway. And once that's out the way, we'll see the foundations begin to be laid and the building begin to go vertical. Although with Disney having now unveiled these plans, we should start to see some proper progress within the coming months.
However, that isn't everything, as there's plenty of construction progress taking place just on the other side of these construction walls, as this is going to be the entrance area for the Journey of Water experience,
which will be the first permanent Moana themed addition to the Disney parks. And as we can see, the layout is really beginning to take shape, as there's been quite a bit of progress made on the installation of these steel framework cages, which are called chips in terms of Walt Disney Imagineering, and these are used to form the structural basis for the themed rockwork to then be applied to. And the reason why these chips are numbered is because Imagineering have these forms precision manufactured off-site, and then they're shipped in and kept backstage until they're ready to be used, before then being brought in to the construction site and pieced together like a giant jigsaw puzzle. And what all of this will end up being, per the official description, is an experience where guests will interact with magical living water in a beautiful and inspiring setting. But let's stop right there, as you're probably wondering to yourself, what does magical living water have to do with Epcot's traditional theme of edutainment? And well, it's recently been revealed that the Journey of Water experience is apparently going to have an edutainment angle to it after all, as it will aim to teach guests about the importance of water conservation, whilst using Moana's connection to the water to make what could be a rather mundane offering into an entertaining yet educational experience for all ages. And as we can see in this beautifully illustrated new piece of overview concept art that shows us the scale of the theme's landscaping for this outdoor walkthrough experience, that the area that is the most developed so far is actually this section shown within the concept art. And why this is interesting is because it features a covered canopy that certainly does look like the typical shade structures that Disney uses for their meet and greet locations. And so if you couple that with the fact that this area is in close proximity to another utilidor access stairway that's seen in the background here, then if Journey of Water is to possibly include an elaborate meet and greet location for Moana, this could explain why this has been the first area to be developed at this stage in the project. Although importantly, that is just my own speculation at this time. Then throughout the rest of the construction site there is obviously a ton of water pipe work, and we're beginning to see some larger rockwork structures like this, which will likely be for a large cascading waterfall feature. But judging by the artwork, we're approximately only seeing around 20% of the structures in place for this experience, which means that there's still a long way to go. And in terms of estimated completion dates, well, it had been stated in early 2021 that Journey of Water would be complete sometime in 2022. However, I think it's more likely now that it will open in early 2023, as more recently it's been mentioned that the World Celebration area is targeting a completion date sometime towards the second half of 2023.
But now, it's over to you, the Waltineers. I would like to know, if you were in charge of the EPCOT revamp, then what would you have done to revamp the centre of EPCOT, and the reason why? And of course, if you've enjoyed today's video, then be sure to give this video a massive thumbs up, as it really does help this channel out. Maybe share this video with a friend who's interested in the updated plans for the EPCOT revamp. And with all of that being said, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.